people look at accessibility as just providing basic opportunity needs, not as a extra step or as it should be a bare minimum, this is not a burden or an extra that's being asked for. This is just the same treatment.
And I feel like sometimes, things are overlooked innocently.
Sure.
Because people's they don't see the same picture as we do.
Right.
And so there's no one to blame for that. I just feel like, especially having kids who need this accessibility to experience the world.
That is the key to opportunity and inclusion. Trying not to meet the basic need, but extend beyond and try to see things through the eyes of others, especially those seeking opportunity. I am Seth Carnell, and this is the Go Shout Love podcast. Welcome back to part 2 of the conversation with Aaron and Andrea, who are the parents to our feature kiddos, Jaelyn and Reagan. If you haven't listened to part 1, I recommend pausing this and going back to that. There's a lot of context and great moments that you don't want to overlook before jumping into this conversation. Now, this episode dives into Reagan's medical journey and the parallels that formed between hers and Jaelyn's. We talk a little bit about Shelby, the middle sister, and her bond with her siblings, and we also talk about some very key topics that surround families like the ones we feature, which include finding the joy in the small moments and how those can come through the uniquely and constantly present challenges with daily activities and spontaneous moments. There is difficulty working around physical limitations and anxiousness surrounding the unexpected. That is especially hard for people like Andrea, who are planners and have had to adapt to a life where planning ahead simply isn't possible. We left off the last episode talking about Jaelyn's love of music and school, and now we are picking up as Aaron and Andrea are going to tell us about a great experience she had with the University of Iowa. With me in this conversation is Josh Veach, one of the co-directors of Go Shout Love. You will occasionally hear a message ding and occasionally also some other noises in the background. That is simply the nature of virtual interviews as well as life in general. And I assure you those noises don't deter from a great conversation. So that being said, here we go.
She had another really cool experience that we want to be sure to talk about as well. And you guys, we haven't touched on this yet, but you guys live in Iowa. And she had a really cool experience with the university there and through the Children's Hospital. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so with Jaelyn having an undetermined diagnosis, I feel like we've always been kind of hesitant to share. Like we don't have a diagnosis to share. So like who would want to hear our story? And she was nominated for the University of Iowa Children's Hospital Kid Captain program in 2017 and was accepted. And it was a pretty incredible experience for our whole entire family. Basically, these kids on these rare medical journeys are able to come to the University of Iowa football campus there and tour it and meet the players. And there's this big event that showcases them, and each child gets selected for a football game to be the kid captain, the honorary kid captain. And so whether it's home or away, they're featured at that football game. Jaelyn's game was a home game, so she was able to attend the football game. We were able to go down on the field prior to the game through like the first quarter.
She got to do the national anthem, or like, be out there for the national anthem.
Yeah, so lined up with the team.
She loves the national anthem, so she got to participate in that. So that was kind of cool.
That was probably her favorite moment.
That's incredible.
Yeah, that is. What a cool thing for the university to kind of embrace that opportunity to just give families like that a moment. One of the things that when I get the chance to talk about Go Shout Love with other people, and we get to see the unique pieces of everybody's story, and everyone, has different elements and different things going on. But what I feel like is a common thread is that a lot of the families that we talk to, there's a certain element of they kind of feel invisible, like they can kind of they feel overlooked at times. And I feel like that's one of the ways that I enjoy getting to do what we do, is that we get to help bring a voice to some families. We wish we could help more and be a voice for more. We're working towards that, but to help families know that they are seen and heard and loved and appreciated, and these kids have incredible value. And I mean, I just think it's really cool that the school is embracing that opportunity as well. I mean, that's very cool. Yeah. There's another piece of that story, I think, that the school does called the First Wave. Is that right?
Yeah, the Wave. So,
the Wave, okay.
There's been a new children's hospital built since Jaelyn started on her journey. And so it's been cool to watch that process evolve. And now they have a children's hospital that overlooks the football field. And so prior to that first season there with the children's hospital opening, just some person on social media, it'd be cool to wave to the kids after the first quarter, the kids that are in the hospital there. If the whole entire stadium could wave to the kids. And that happened to be the game that Jaelyn was the kid captain at. And nobody really knew that it would just be a huge deal. But now after every first quarter, they wave to the kids. And being in that moment, we've been able to experience it twice now. But it's really special to watch Jaelyn wave to the kids that are in the hospital. Oh yeah,
that's awesome. And so she was, when it was the first time it happened was the day that she was the captain, and it's been happening at the end of every first quarter since. That's so cool.
That's kind of special.
That's excellent.
So I want to transition here a little bit, and before we jump into Reagan's story and kind of what her journey has looked like, there's an important piece of your family that came in between those two, and we don't want to leave her out. So tell us a little bit about Shelby and her relationship with her sisters.
Well, so Shelby, I guess she grew up with Jaelyn, obviously, her whole life. And so she doesn't really know anything different than having a sibling with a disability to begin with. So she's been actually a pretty good help for us. Just brings a lot of joy to Jaelyn. Jaelyn loves to watch her just run around and be goofy and kind of play with her and just kind of be her best friend, Jaelyn's best friend. So it's kind of been fun to just kind of see that relationship grow, and just the passion and love that Shelby has for her sisters, I think, is kind of just amazing to me for being only 5 years old.
Yeah, and understanding she has for the attention that we need to give the other two, and can't always give her. She's just really forgiving to us as parents. I feel like she's a ball of energy, and she definitely gave us a run for our money during her first couple of years. That toddlerhood was pretty hard with her, but she kind of has learned to channel her energy. And we're just trying to raise her to be kind and to have, to see like what other people might not see in the world, to recognize challenges that others face. And I think she'll kind of get that, honestly, just with her experiences at home. But
yeah, it's been kind of hard to just, we don't want to have her feel left out, hold her back on anything. But I mean, I feel like there's still going to be times where we're holding her back, just not intentionally, but just unintentionally, just because of our circumstance, I guess.
Sure. There's no doubt in my mind that she's being equipped to help shape the world into a more inclusive place right now, because she's coming out of that place of naturally, like you said, Aaron, this is all she's ever known with her older sister in that relationship. And she has the privilege of just seeing Jaelyn as her sister. And knowing that there's other things that go into the situation, she will understand in a growing degree, I'm sure, of that as well. But first and foremost, that's her sister. And that perspective, I think, will come back to be a huge opportunity for her to, love everybody, share that kindness without judging people, and to be able to advocate more effectively for other people when they need it. And so there's no doubt in my mind that the some of that struggle feeling that you guys might have as far as maybe holding her back is going to be far outweighed by the strength and growth that she's experiencing by being able to be big and younger sister that is supportive and just full of love and joy for her sisters, I'm sure. So for Reagan's journey, you find out that you're having that number 3 is on the way. You've had one that has had some complexities. Your second has not had any known complexities at that time. And how then do you feel going into baby number 3 on the way?
We just knew that there was, because at this point, obviously, we still don't have a diagnosis for Jaelyn. With having Shelby, I think it kind of felt less.
I think we felt more comfortable.
Yeah, we felt more comfortable.
Because, it could just be some random thing that happened to Jaelyn, and, they don't know why, and they still don't know why. So it's just kind of one of those things where we just kind of have to pray about it and think, hey, is this what we want, or is this what we can handle? And I guess life brought us Reagan. So
yeah. Ready or not.
Yeah. And if I'm doing my math right, that's Jaelyn's 7 or 8 at the time. Is that right?
Yeah.
6.
Almost 7.
Okay.
Almost 7. Yeah.
Born, yeah.
Okay.
So when did you start to notice similarities between Jaelyn's journey and Reagan's? Was it about the same time, about, a few months old, she's not eating well, or what kind of coincided with Reagan?
I think us as parents, we kind of knew pretty much right away, within a month, I would say. We were pretty confident that it was something similar to Jaelyn. The medical community wasn't quite on board with us yet on thinking that, which is completely fine. We understand that because they don't always see what's going on behind the scenes type of deal.
Right.
And we wanted to obviously give her the best. We were hoping for the best. Don't get me wrong. We were hoping that it wasn't, but
there were just too many similarities that.
We were just kind of picking out all these other signals that we had noticed with Jaelyn, but it was hard for us to communicate that to the medical community per se. And so, and it's nothing against them at all. It's not. It's just when you live and breathe that every day, you pick up on the small signals, I guess.
Right.
So, I'd say we noticed it. I would say sooner than
within the first couple weeks.
Yeah.
Does your experience with Jaelyn help you be more equipped or advocate for Reagan?
Definitely.
Yeah.
One of the first things, we knew that she was going to need a feeding tube. Don't get me wrong. We tried to continue to feed her orally, but she wasn't eating, and it was such a struggle. And we wanted her to get that nutrition. We knew how important it was for her. And we, at this point, still questions, like with Jaelyn not receiving adequate nutrition for so many years, like, did that cause any of her challenges? And so we just knew right away that Reagan needed a feeding tube. And Reagan was about 5 months old, I think, when she got her NG tube placed. So still, I mean, fairly old. We struggled with feeding for 5 months until we finally got into the GI specialist. And I feel like right away, when her primary care doctor kind of confirmed, like, I think she probably is suffering from the same underlying condition as Jaelyn, I reached out to Jaelyn's specialist and I was like, can you see her? Like, this is what's happening. And so that kind of helped get the ball rolling a little bit.
But like, without having a diagnosis, that's makes it a little hard because, you can't just test for this one thing and be like, yep, this is what it is. Now we're going to treat it.
Right.
Like if they both had the same diagnosis, and right now, I mean, they don't have the same diagnosis because there is no diagnosis. So we are pretty confident that it's the exact same thing, but there's no way to prove it.
Yeah.
So that kind of makes it a little difficult too. So
was it, if I'm following correctly, you guys were advocating for getting the feeding tube. Like you were kind of more leading the charge than even your doctors.
I think they probably would have given her more time to just continue to try to eat.
Yeah. I'm curious what their response was in that situation, because I would say that's probably extremely rare. Most parents are like, don't want to do that unless it's like the last resort, right? They're kind of hopeful that that's not the case, but you guys are coming at it. We've experienced this enough to know that the most important thing, we know we're not worried about the big picture understanding. We need to solve this problem, today's problem. And today's problem is she's not getting enough food. She's not getting enough nutrients. So is that kind of a surprise to them that parents were strongly advocating that direction at that point?
I don't know if they were surprised, but I think that it's the doctors try to, they don't want to take interventions if they don't have to. And they want to give Reagan a fair chance. They don't want us to assume that it's one thing. They don't want us to be pessimistic or whatever the word is about Reagan. All because we have one daughter that has something doesn't mean that this daughter has it. You know, so they don't want us. I think they were not wanting us to fall into that trap of saying, "Hey," and get all worried about it.
But then they also trust us.
But then, so I don't know. I think it was just kind of I don't think they were surprised by it, but I don't.
Did you have to do all the same testing that you did with Jaelyn, or was there some pieces that you kind of leapfrogged because you've already done that?
Yeah, we've kind of leapfrogged. So,
especially on the nutrition side, we leapfrogged quite a bit on that. Just with Jaelyn, we tried so many different foods and so many different formula type things, and trying to find the right thing where she'll actually gain weight. We really, really struggled with Jaelyn. Whereas with Reagan,
we went to those foods or types of feeding tubes right away.
Yeah, and that made the difference.
And it has,
Oh, awesome.
And with testing too, we've leapfrogged. So Reagan had like some of the traditional testing done right away, but then the doctors kind of said, "Hey, we're not going to test for all these individual diagnoses. We're just going to go straight to the whole exome sequencing." So Reagan and Jaelyn and the two of us had whole exome sequencing done again when Reagan was about a year old, probably. And it again came back with nothing.
So she Reagan is 3 now. And I'm curious, what does her day-to-day life look like? How is she impacted in this journey? And what you've learned through Jaelyn's journey help you in caring for and maybe understanding like what are good expectations or goals, or maybe is a better word for Reagan at this point?
Reagan has struggled a lot with comfort. We feel like she has a lot of pain. And so we're still trying to get to the bottom of that. I feel like in the last couple months, we've made a lot of progress in that area. There's still room to help her, but we're finally, just in the last couple months, we're finally seeing her play more, interact more with others. She's more content. She has a better like resting and waking schedule, whereas before it was just like she just wanted to sleep all the time because she was so uncomfortable.
Except at night. She didn't want to sleep at night.
Except at night.
Yeah. So in that scenario, she's just like every other 2 to 3 year old. Yeah. One of the things that we've heard from other families is the idea of contrasting emotions, of kind of grief and joy, or something similar, kind of living together in a season. And I'm curious, as you guys have navigated this, because this is, a lot of the families that we're talking to, they've gone through, they're in a year or 2 years into a journey. And this has been a journey that you guys have been on for 11 now. Have you experienced seasons where that you have two really strong emotions that some might see as contrasting, but you're living them at the same time? Does that question make sense?
Yeah. I do think that over the years, I've learned to embrace the fact that there is grief. I feel like initially, you didn't want to really accept that you had grief. But I think grief is okay. It's okay to grieve like what you kind of thought life would be like versus what life is. And I think it's okay to have that grief as long as it doesn't outweigh the joy of each day, because there's joy in each day. And sometimes you have to look a little harder for it, but there's always moments of joy to be found. And so I think we can have that grief and joy together. And it's kind of strange, but it's reality. Mm-hmm. Do you have anything?
How do you guys find that joy, like tangibly find it in the midst of the challenges? Is there anything you guys just do as a family, traditions, or is it more of you guys finding a way to step away somehow? Where does that joy manifest?
I would say it's mostly in the small little things that we see. It's not really things that we do, but it's just more just being around the kids and watching them smile, trying to get a reaction out of them, trying to make them happy. So, or
if something that they typically struggle with day to day comes easy at that moment, like that brings a lot of joy too. And Shelby kind of exerts joy. All three girls, they have their own joy that they bring to our family, and just learning to recognize, like you said, those little moments.
Yeah, like right now, I feel like with Reagan, it's just her exploring. She has a power chair now, and so she's really able to get around outside. In the house, she can kind of scoot on her back a little bit around the living room. But outside, she can drive around and just kind of explore. And so that's just fun, just kind of watching her, and just, she's always pointing things out. And so.
And if I remember correctly, they both have purple chairs. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So that's a big deal. That's an important detail.
Big deal.
Yeah.
Jaelyn's first chair was pink, and because she got to pick out the color of her chair. And then like a week after we got her pink chair, her favorite color turned purple. So so we had to wait 5 years to get a new chair. Now it's purple. So that
I'm assuming a request to insurance for a new chair because of the color. I traditionally insurances are really great to work with, so I would assume that's no problem. Oh goodness. Okay. Well, I guess we're getting near the end of time here, so I want to wrap up. As you guys look at the world around you as parents, and you think of the future, and as they get older, and even as Shelby gets older, what does a more inclusive world look like through your eyes? Because I'm assuming that you guys, especially having two girls that have wheelchairs and have certain times where they need different accommodations, you've recognized, I'm sure, in such situations where our world is lacking in accessibility and equality for people in their position. What does a more inclusive world look like through your eyes?
Boy, it's kind of a loaded question.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I don't know. I don't feel like we really think about it that much as far as like an inclusive world. I don't know. We try to find just the joys of life in whatever we do. So if it's just going outside into the front yard, getting out and about, we haven't done that really as a family, other than going up to Rochester to the hospital. We spend the night in the hotel, and the girls kind of like that. But so I can't really speak about.
Well, yeah, we get out and about. I feel like it's less of, we recognize that there's places that aren't accessible and stuff. But I feel like it's more of the mindset from people that it's a burden. Would you I feel like some people feel that accommodating accessibility is a burden. And that's probably the biggest hurdle. In my personal thoughts.
So a goal of having people look at accessibility as just providing basic opportunity needs, not as a extra step or as it should be a bare minimum, this is not a burden or an extra that's being asked for. This is just the same treatment.
And I feel like sometimes, things are overlooked innocently.
Sure.
Because people they don't see the same picture as we do.
Right.
And so there's no one to blame for that. I just feel like, especially having kids who need this accessibility to experience the world.
Yeah.
Just giving them ample opportunity.
So we touched on, you guys have been on this journey for a while now. And I would assume you have different groups of support, different people that have come around you, whether it's through the whole season of 11 years so far with Jaelyn and all the girls, or maybe at different parts, different seasons of that journey. But what are practical ways that you've seen people show up and be supportive of your family? And then to spin off of that, what are practical ways that you would encourage other people that if they're around someone, or they're friends or neighbors or coworkers with somebody that's in a position like you guys, how can they equip and be an effective support system for someone going through a journey like you guys are on?
So we have great support through family and some friends in church. And the ways that they've helped us have been through both physical support and monetary support over the years to help fund things like our van and an adaptive bicycle for Jaelyn. People have brought us meals when Jaelyn's had surgery, or after the other two girls were born. People brought us meals to kind of help us out. feel like there's things that people have done that we don't even know about. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's maybe just like having people over, you know, like it's sometimes hard to go to other people's houses and really build that relationship as grown-ups, you know, like just your friends and whatnot. So,
right.
You know, don't be afraid to invite somebody over, even if they have somebody that's in a chair or something.
Yeah,
we might not be able to get the chair into the house, but we can still go over and visit and carry her in, or, you know, so it's not like everything has to be perfect for us to go over and see. You know, don't let that deter you from inviting somebody into your home. Even though you might not be able to accommodate them to the fullest extent, you can still invite them over.
Yeah,
and just hang out for a little bit. So.
Yeah, the effort to accommodate as much as possible and to show the effort of inviting and to be welcomed. Yeah.
Don't be intimidated to invite them. You know, if you want to invite them over. So
yeah, that's
good. And even just like having a simple conversation, you know, because I feel like we don't get out much, so our conversations are pretty much just with each other. I mean, you go to work, but I guess I'm just speaking for myself. My conversations are just with the girls and Aaron, and you know, just having a conversation with a friend.
Thank you as always for listening. If you would like to participate in shouting love for this family, you can do so through the sale of this month's Stay Present in Today t-shirt design, which is inspired by Jaelyn and Reagan, sweet sisters from Iowa living each day with joy. Their journey encourages us not to worry about yesterday or tomorrow, but to stay present in today. Every purchase in June will help make Jaelyn and Reagan's home more accessible, including helping with the remodel of their bathroom. Visit our website, goshout.love, to support Jaelyn and Reagan through the purchase of a t-shirt, tank top, hat, tumbler, or other items. Now, you can also start a subscription and join us in shouting love every month for our featured families. Just go to our website and start your plan there. Beyond that, you can also help us by rating and reviewing this podcast and telling others about it. It is one way we can all become a stronger community of people who are willing to step into the shoes of others and join the ranks of those fighting for inclusion and opportunity for kiddos like Jaelyn and Reagan, and to continue to go shout love.